Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Peer Review. This week we're going to take a look at a VOD for Preservation Evoker. Now, Preservation Evoker is, as you know, it's a newer healer. It's actually what I played last season. I had a lot of success with it and had a lot of fun with it. For this season, I decided to kind of change it up and go back to a different healer, but this is still probably one of my favorite healers to play. I had a blast as I was going through it, and yeah, as with all my other healers, I've been kind of maintaining it. As you can see, 432 item level. This VOD that we're going to review, it was before I got my second piece of current tier, so I was still rocking 4-piece from last season. I only had this singular piece from this season. Since then, I've gotten a second piece of the new tier. And then the plan is, with this week's reset, I should be able to get a full 4 set of the new season. So looking forward to that, and that will kind of shake up the playstyle a little bit and change a few things. So that'll be kind of fun. But on the screen right now is the talents that I was running. I debated how to do this, if I want to do this a little bit differently than last time. I think for the purposes of Evoker, I think it's worth taking a brief pause before we get into the actual VOD and talk about a few of our healing buttons. Specifically, I feel like we probably should explain what an Empower spell is. So if you don't know, Evoker is the new class from Dragonflight, and they introduced the concept of an empowered ability, in that when you are casting it, you can stop the cast early, and it will have a slightly different effect based on the time that you stop that cast. Now, the important thing is you can see Dream Breath, one of our major healing buttons, as a Preservation Evoker. You can see it on the screen, and you should take note of the fact that if you do the math between Empowerment level 1 and Empowerment level 3, the healing amount is still the same. The difference is when and how that healing is applied, right? So that means that when you do an Empowerment level of 1, you're only going to do a small, roughly 10k heal on the 5 injured allies instantly, but then you're going to do an additional roughly 50k healing over 16 seconds. So it becomes a hot, okay? Now, if you do a level 3 empowered, it shifts it quite drastically, actually. Instead, it becomes a 34k heal instantly and just a 24k hot. So it will still have portions of that. Now, there's a talent you can take further down here that actually increases that maximum empowerment level by 1 additional level, so this would actually become a 4-stage empowerment. So all that means is that you're going to have a weaker hot, but that front load heal, that initial heal, will be even stronger, okay? And that also is true for Fire Breath, the DPS button, basically the same thing. Empowerment level 1 is mainly a dot, Empowerment level 3 more upfront damage, and so forth. So that's very important to keep that in mind, and it's kind of one of the fun things about Preservation Evoker, in that you can adapt to the current situation, where if there's a steady amount of rot damage, sometimes it makes more sense to just do that hot, get that big, that's a pretty, like 50k over 16 seconds, that's a pretty sizable hot. Get that out on the party and just kind of let it do its thing passively and get through the rot damage. Whereas if there's a lot of burst damage, you can charge this up, that burst damage hits, and then you pop your Dream Breath fully maxed out, and you can instantly just heal the entire party. So there's a lot of nuance to it from there. Now, on top of this too, you'll see we take Call of Ysera. Verdant Embrace increases the healing of your next Dream Breath by 40%, or your next Living Flame by 100%. So all that means is basically every time you're going to cast Dream Breath, ideally, you want to be looking to do a Verdant Embrace beforehand. Again, Verdant Embrace, it should be one of your main staples as you're going through doing your healing. Such a powerful ability. It also applies Life Bind, which makes additional heal effects also go to and attach to anybody that has your Life Bind on them. We're able to spread that out with our Echoes. Echoes make a healing cast. A healing spell that you cast will also go on to that target for an additional time for a lesser amount. Now, there's also Temporal Anomaly, which applies Echoes at a reduced effectiveness, but there's a lot of fun nuances to that. So going back to this whole hot gameplay with the Dream Breath, if you have the entire party coded in Echoes and you do this Dream Breath on them, now they have 2 stacks of this hot. Likewise, you can do some fun stuff with Call of Ysera where you Verdant Embrace the party, and now everybody, all the healing that you do to them kind of bounces to them via the Lifebind effect. You can do a lot of fun nuance with that where Lifebind will kind of transfer some of the healing that you're doing. The big common cooldown combo that you will see is a Verdant Embrace, or well, specifically Temporal Anomalies, so you get the echoes on the entire party, into a Verdant Embrace, into an Emerald Communion, which will let you do a lot of healing. Now, in Season 1, this was a very, very strong combo. They recognized that it was a bit too strong, and they did go through and nerf it slightly, but it is still one of those things that you're going to want to play around with. And in the VOD, you'll see me play around with Echoes, Verdant Embrace, Dream Breath, combinations like that. And then the last thing I want to touch on before you really kind of get into it is Stasis. Stasis is one of your capstones. Really, it's the only one that we take in keys, and it lets you record 3 of your healing spells. This lets you basically, as you're going through and utilizing your spells, your main heals kind of have a long cooldown. Like you have your 30 seconds on your Spirit Bloom and your Dream Breath. Those are going to be your main things that you're going to be hitting for your heal. What you can do is you can utilize Stasis to kind of fill in those gaps. So if you do a Temporal Anomaly, so that way you get all those echoes on everybody, into a Verdant Embrace, which is empowering your Dream Breath, and then also is putting Lifebind on everybody, and then you do an empowered, like a beefy Dream Breath afterwards, that entire combination, that entire group of spells that you just cast is now stored in that Stasis, letting you cast them whenever you need fit, whenever you see fit, whenever you need. So again, if you just do a Temporal Anomaly into Verdant Embrace into Dream Breath, well, ideally you would have, hit Stasis first. So we'll do a slightly different one. We'll do a Temporal Anomaly into a Verdant Embrace into Spirit Bloom. Okay, you will see the 3 globes around us. That means that we have 3 spells that we have captured, and we can hold on to them for 30 seconds. If you hit Stasis again, it will cast all 3 of those in the same exact order. That lets you do a lot of powerful burst healing if you store them up and you plan ahead, and it lets you get through those instances where you don't have a cooldown ready for the damage that's incoming. So might as well just get into it. This is going to be a 18 Neltharian's Lair. You will see this one went fairly well. It's not going to be as scuffed as the last peer review. Quick note, if you don't know Neltharian's Lair, you want to jump in slightly before the cooldown, before the key actually starts, because you're going to be able to skip that whole awkward waiting for the thing to open up and then diving into the roller coaster section. Your character, if you jump in there before the key actually starts, your character will kind of glitch out a little bit, and you get thrown into this water slide a little bit earlier, and that way you can just kind of get down to the bottom quicker. It's very min-maxy, it's a very minor thing. You'll notice our Shadow Priest didn't do it. It's whatever, but it's one of those nice little things. So as we go through this, keep an eye on what I'm doing as far as casting echoes. What am I storing in my Stasis? Am I making sure I'm doing Verdant Embrace before I do my Dream Breath? Little things like that. Those are what I'm going to be looking out for to see if I could be doing better and making sure that people are getting healed efficiently, and that I'm utilizing my cooldowns efficiently. As you can see here, we're kind of just blasting through that first pack. I had some stuff stored up in Stasis. I went ahead and just popped the Stasis. That way people were going into the next pack topped off and had a little bit of a hot. And we just kind of keep going forward through there. Now keep in mind, we do have our essences. These are kind of our, it's not really a build or spender, it's our secondary resource that we can utilize and spend. You can either spend them on echoes, as we discussed earlier, that will replicate a healing spell that you cast onto an ally. Or we can use them for, as you saw there, disintegration. That's kind of our main spender, or one of our main fillers for damage. Living Flame is a very common and powerful spell too for our filler for when we're doing damage, but they did buff disintegration and any more kind of favor it. There could be an argument that maybe it's still better to not do that and only ever do echoes for your utilizing your essences. But there's also another ability. There's a Emerald Blossom. You will never cast that in M+. I think the current raid build is starting to utilize it again. When I was raiding with Preservation Evoker, we never pressed that ability. So, but yeah, as we're making pretty good progress on the first couple of packs here. Some of these on Fortified Weeks absolutely truck. Okay, we're already well past it, but there's the worms that will go underground and spawn and pop back up behind people. If your tank doesn't grab that aggro back, that can be a disaster. Additionally, too, as a healer, as a DPS, whatever, you need to make sure that you actually watch them, because they do a frontal, and that frontal will tear you up. Now, somehow I managed to like butt pull a random little crawler there. Luckily, our paladin friend, I tried to 1v1 it, lost. Luckily, our pally friend here was watching, and he decided to bot me. So I said, forget that, and kind of dove back into the party. You'll kind of see here that unfortunately it targets our Shadow Priest, who's kind of in the back. He starts getting a lot of damage. Trying to find him, can't figure out where he is. Our druid got yeeted into the water. Oh boy, it's kind of a disaster here. But we're through it. We're okay. We're all right. We're good. No one died. We're chilling. We're chilling. Now I do want to take a quick mention, take a quick moment to mention that Evoker is probably one of the, specifically Preservation Evoker, is the healer that can be a little positionally challenged, if you will. Oh, poor pally friend. He tried so hard to get so far. So they can be pretty positionally challenged. And what I mean by that is temporal anomaly, which is the I mentioned it before, but that's the little sand orb that goes out in front of you. It applies echoes to anybody it touches, as well as it applies a damage absorb shield to them. You shoot that out in front of you. Additionally, too, Dream Breath or Big Conal, that's all a frontal. So you have those two things that are frontals. Beyond that, too, Preservation Evokers have they're not a, how do I want to say this? They don't have the same range as a typical caster. So that means you can find yourself, if you are in a comp with a lot of range, and specifically a lot of range that likes to sit pretty far back, you can find yourself in awkward situations where you're not able to get everybody. As you'll kind of see in this fight, the tank and our paladin friend that's up in melee are pretty far away from our Boomy and Shadow Priest. I try to kind of play it the best. I'm trying to move around between them, trying to make sure I hit all of them. And as you can see, it's a challenge. Now, one quick note, too, on this fight, if you do not know, there is and we're going to back it up a little bit, there's the initial hit, which does damage, and then there's the purple stuff that shows up on the ground. That purple stuff only does damage if you walk through it or move through it, okay? So you'll see here, Verdant Embrace makes you dash to a target. I wanted to heal the druid, and I was planning on this big perfect combo in my head, but what I failed to realize and think about is Verdant Embrace is going to make me dash through this purple stuff. I drop, a heal hits me, that brings me back up, and I drop again. I very well and probably should have died there, okay? So keep that in mind too. Again, just any class, but as a class like Evoker, who has so much mobility, and their heals are even part of that, like that mobility is built into their healing spells, you might have to play it a little bit differently and a little smarter here with how you cast that. So just keep that in mind. That is honestly one of the most fun things about Preservation Evoker, though, is just the amount of mobility. No other healer has the amount of mobility that a Preservation Evoker does. As you can see, there's something there's something really enjoyable about diving in to do the heal in the tank, diving back out, doing your deep breath, and all that stuff, you know. It's a lot of fun. Now, we took a lot of damage there. Just play it safe. I did use Rewind. Rewind's a 4-minute cooldown. Pretty beefy cooldown, but it's probably one of the stronger cooldowns in the game. It is absolutely worth utilizing. Do not sleep on it. Do not sit on it. So if you don't know what Dream Breath is, or I'm sorry, if you don't know what Rewind is, let's go ahead and take a quick look at that. So Rewind is a very, very powerful spell that Preservation Evokers get. It is a 4-minute cooldown, but it rewinds 50% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds by all allies within 40 yards. It always heals at least 20k. That healing is increased by 100% when not in a raid. This button is a delete mechanic button, but it is incredibly powerful. Do not get caught up in trying to use it for that perfect moment. too many times, too many new healers will say and see something like this as, oh, that's my oh shit button. I need to save that for when things go south. This is how I'll get through X mechanic. And then that never happens, whether you're just being proactive or whatever. But what you end up doing is you end up sweating, you end up trying so much harder than you need to, or you end up using more mana than you need to just to keep people through it. Additionally, too, it's possible that, you know, like a DPS player, like if you don't play it perfectly and you sit on this, that DPS player will slip away. Utilize your cooldowns. Don't be afraid to hit them. I know it's a 4-minute button, but there's a really good chance that you can go through, if you are waiting for that perfect, quote, perfect moment to hit this button, you will end the key without ever hitting it. Utilize it to your advantage. It is too powerful to sleep on. 100% use it. All right, so let's get back into the key and we'll continue on here. Like I said, pop rewind. I'll actually go back a quick second here, and you can see just how powerful it is. I still have rewind. Big hit's going to come out. You actually see everybody drops pretty low. I think the druid almost dies, and I instantly will hit rewind here, and it basically deletes the mechanic, okay? He drops down to 9%. I hit rewind. He is rapidly regaining health. Now, I did put out a reversion out there, but that reversion wasn't enough to solely heal him back up that. As you can see, the entire party is back up to 100%. It is a delete mechanic button. Utilize it. 4 minutes sounds long. 4 minutes is a long time. But in WoW, 4 minutes is not. You will have it back before you know it. So, anyways, wrapping up the fight here. Goes pretty smoothly. Seems like I'm doing things pretty well. Like I said, there's a couple of silly mistakes I made where trying to move and reposition through the purple and stuff like that. It was a very difficult fight with having our ranged basically off in Narnia and the melee in a completely different area. So that one was kind of a rough one. So, but hey, we got through the opener. That opening trash is pretty rough. We got through the first boss. Easy going from here, right? Right. If you haven't tried a fortified Neltharion Slayer yet, all right, you're gonna find that on fortified week, the bosses still slap, yes, but you're gonna suddenly find just how brutal some of the trash packs are. Specifically, this next trash pack that we're gonna pull, it introduces a mechanic called Avalanche. Okay, guarantee, whether it's a +2 or a +22. People are going to die to Avalanche. This is what you see right here. Swirly shows up on the ground, and you need to step out of it, okay? As you saw, our poor druid friend failed the mechanic and got deleted. On the higher keys, if you do not sidestep it, you will just get deleted. It might not actually just kill you, but as we pull other mobs into this, it very well can just delete you. And what's even worse too is like situations like that. There was a slight overlap, and I think that's actually what killed our Shadow Priest friend there. You can have if you're not spread far enough, or in like this case, we're kind of in a weird area. We don't want to spread too much. You can very well have an instance where two of them are overlapping, and you go to dodge one, and you end up getting hit by two, and there's no coming back from that. You're just instantly gone. So. Anyways, on to another pack. Trying to utilize, as you'll see here, some of my utility. Deep Breath, which is that attack that kind of sends me forward like that. It does damage, but also I talented into an ability that will to tweak the ability so that it actually stuns anything that I go through. That's kind of nice, especially for early pulls, early starts to the pull. That way the tank can kind of get aggro, as well as try to get a lot of defensives up and stuff like that. Depends on what type of tank you're running. Obviously, some tanks are, as soon as they pull, they're instantly as tanky as they're going to be for the entire thing. Whereas something like a Death Knight, or especially like a Vengeance Demon Hunter, kind of take a little bit to ramp up in that tankiness department as the pull goes on. Now, Pelters. Pelters are a nuisance. Pelters are a mob that likes to dive back away from the party, and they will randomly shoot jagged discs out to the entire party. Man, our druid friend just got deleted there. What in the world? So he is at 100%. I see a jagged disc hitting him, and oh, he got frontaled. Oh no. Oh, you hate to see that. Nothing we could have done there. That was just, our tank basically just told him he was going to die that day, and he died. So now, unfortunately, we only have one range left, other than me. So The Shadow Priest is mainly getting targeted with those Jagged Discs. Luckily, we finished them off. Jagged Discs, like I said, they randomly pick somebody. It seems like it prioritizes, as far as I'm aware, it prioritizes range. But I do see it hitting, like, melees on occasion, too. But regardless, it will absolutely shred. And couple that with, like I said, Avalanche. If you have a pack where Avalanches are coming out and you fail to misstep one of those random RNG Jagged Discs is just going to slap you immediately afterwards and just kill you. You got to play it smart. You got to play it careful. As a healer, I'm trying to keep everybody topped up as best I can, but that just extra damage is very, very difficult. This pack, nothing too crazy here. Mob has a frontal. Tanks keep him in the corner. Until, well, he doesn't move him into the corner. Mob has a frontal. This seems like a scary position. I recognize this, and I move. Unfortunately, our range do not recognize this and don't move. Ooh. Not much I could have done there. That's such a shame to see. The only thing I could think of is I recognized it was happening. Evokers have rescue, which is kind of like a priest grip. You can you go and pick somebody up and you drag them to some other location. What I probably should have done is grabbed either the Shadow Priest or Resto Druid, picked one of them to live, and took them with me to safety. But instead, just kind of sat there and watched them both die. I think my thought process was, there's no way this tank is gonna let this go off and kill our DPS, right? Right? Well, apparently I was wrong there. So, anyways, next poll. Another frontal boy. Oh boy. If I was ranged, I would be terrified right now. I would not trust our tank. Seems like it's going okay so far. Just trying to... Those stone bolts definitely hurt. Hopefully everybody's helping to kick them. They definitely do. They truck on an 18 fortified. Well, so far so good. Another frontal that went off not on the party, so I consider that a success. Yeah, no, those stone bolts hurt. So ideally, everybody's helping kick those.
3, 2.
Including yourself. Don't forget, as a healer, obviously not all of them have it, but a majority of them will have a kick. If you're a priest, you're kind of out of luck, but you can try to utilize like Psychic Scream. Wrestle Druid's gonna be kind of hit or miss, depending on if you're doing any kind of kitty weaving, then you have to be in position, so you can't really reliably kick everything. But try to help out on it. If you have a kick, take advantage of it and help in situations like that. Alright, so you might see my bars are routinely going blue this week. That is because of the affix. Alright. It is bursting week. Now, bursting is probably one of those affixes that every new healer, the first time they see it and experience it and try to heal through it, scars them. Okay, the number of people that I have seen try to heal on a bursting week, and unfortunately, if it's ever like one of their earliest times like healing, it's awful for them. But basically, bursting week is absolutely a tough one for a new healer. Okay. Basically, before you know it, you're already trying to contend with the damage that's going out. You're trying to keep everybody stabilized, and then all of a sudden, people are just melting from this affix that you're not prepared for. But I think what really helped me a while back to deal with bursting was I started treating it kind of like just another. I don't know, trying to treat it like a mechanic. Which, I mean, it is, but like kind of like a boss mechanic, right? Like as a healer, you should be trying to recognize damage patterns, boss patterns, whatever, however you want to word it. You should be recognizing that, okay, this X mechanic on a boss fight always hurts, right? Treat bursting like that. You have your party, you have the your mob frames. You're able to see their health. Keep an eye on that and track that, right? That's basically your countdown for bursting. If you are in a big pool and you see 4 mobs are all at like 10% health, you should know that you're about to get 4% bursting, okay? Or 4%, 4 stacks of bursting. So what does that mean? As a Resto Druid, start getting your hots out. As an Evoker, make sure that you're ready for a big Dream Breath, all right? If you are a Resto Shami, Cloud Burst, whatever it is, treat it like a big boss mechanic, a big boss hit. That is the key to dealing with bursting. Just watch the mobs and their health bars and see where they're at and use that as your countdown for when that damage will hit, okay? Now, obviously, the other big thing is, okay, you're doing that. I get that. It makes perfect sense. But then we hit 8 stacks and we all just die. Unfortunately, at a certain point, that's going to happen, okay? With the mechanic being so tied to DPS not killing, like restacking the mobs and kind of spacing out the mob deaths so that way the damage doesn't, the dot doesn't restack and reapply. It's outside of your control in some aspects. In instances like that, it's basically the more you run, the more you'll kind of recognize when something like that might happen. You might be more adjusted and used to those things going awry moments. You're able to kind of counteract that. You might be seeing something like this is happening. You might start working on getting a Cloudburst Totem if you are a Resto Shami, something like that. But you got to know, just keep in mind that it is not a guarantee, right? You're not always going to be able to heal through an 8 stacks of bursting, especially if you have a really bad instance where you get to 4 stacks, 1 second left, and then the DPS kills something so it restacks and you got 5 stacks. You manage to get through that, thank goodness, and it's about to fall off and touch of death. And now you got 6 stacks and you're just dry. You have no cooldowns, you have no buttons, you have nothing. And this thing's hitting like a truck now, right? At a certain point, if that happens, no matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to get through it, all right? Keep in mind, you can dispel it. If you think you can heal yourself through it, dispel somebody else that you think might get low, okay? Other than that, too, if you're a priest, you kind of have it on a little bit of easy mode because you can mass the spell. That will let you dispel it off the entire party if it ever gets that crazy. Or you could be like me and in this group. I made this group, so I grabbed a Shadow Priest. I said I want that mass the spell, and I went and made sure I got it. You know, priests are always in high demand on bursting weeks. If you can get one, or you are a priest player, you're gonna have a good time there. So, anyways, we got through that boss. I didn't really say too much about that boss, but it's a pretty straightforward one. So far things have been going pretty smooth though. These are those lurkers from the beginning of the dungeon again. They're gonna bounce back now. The Grub Masters, okay. Oh man, I think our Disc Priest just got frontaled. Ouch. Ah, yeah, okay. I'm telling him here to go and release at the graveyard or something like that, since it's not that far away. Now, anyways, the Grub Masters, what do they do? They're worth mentioning here because they're going to, man, those lurkers are just shredding, man. And the tank's just ignoring them. Anyways, Grub Masters. Yes, Grub Masters. They're going to throw out little grubs, okay? My plater frames are actually going to be like a purplish pink, those things. See them right there, Tar Spitter Grub. Those guys need to be stunned. If that Metamorphosis cast goes off, you're just screwed, okay? As you can see, I frantically say Grub back here, but people didn't do it. We're low. Grub came out. I'm going to rewind just to get through it. I'm going to do a Verdant Embrace Emerald Communion just to try to heal through it. But the thing just kills you. It drags you into that poison on it, and that poison just murders you. So once one of those go off, either everybody needs to pivot and burn it as fast as they can, or yeah, you're just gonna end up wiping here. I'm trying to remember. I don't know off the top of my head whether or not that is kind of that's bull. I don't know how I pulled there. Like, that is insane. Anyways, I don't know if like Evoker knock up and knock back. I don't think that will stun. I feel like the only thing that Evoker has would be Deep Breath, which I think I utilized earlier on that pull. So you're kind of stuck hoping that the rest of the party actually deals with that grub. Otherwise, you're just gonna have a bad time. Like right here is another grub. Oh, actually no, everybody wiped, so it doesn't matter. But if people aren't dealing with that grub, you're gonna have a bad time, and there's not much you can really do here. So I think we're just waiting for some people to run back. So I kind of want to take a brief pause here, and I want to discuss something else as far as combinations or combos that you can do as Evoker. Okay, Preservation Evoker. Now, you do have an external. in time dilation. And what time dilation does is it basically gives the target of time dilation a stagger, okay? From Brewmaster. If you don't know what that is, the description is right there. But basically, it makes it so that a portion of the damage that somebody takes is instead turned into a damage over time effect. So it's not reducing the damage, it's just extending when they take that damage. So if you have a very big hit or somebody that's really low, you can hit them with time dilation, which will give you a little bit of extra time to heal them up, because instead of that thing doing 100k all at once, it does 50k all at once. So it's basically like a 50% damage reduction. But then what was reduced ticks slowly. So they still end up taking all that damage over 10 seconds. But at least it's not all happening at once, which will give you enough time to ideally get them through it. So I want to mention this too, because now I want to mention reversion, okay? Reversion is kind of the equivalent to a rejuve on a Residue. If you remember last week, I was keeping rejuves on people. You may have seen me do it. You'll probably see it through the rest of the dungeon. I try to keep reversion on the party as much as possible. It's a nice passive hot, just like rejuve. However, there is one key thing with reversion that you need to keep in mind and try to play around. It's not one of those things where you need to do it, but it will make your life so much easier, and you will notice a good healing increase out of this, okay? There's this talent here called Golden Hour, and what that means is reversion instantly heals the target for 15% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds. So that means that if the entire party gets hit by something, and you have echoes on the entire party, if you hit reversion, you just removed 15% of the damage that entire party took. Because depending on how big of a hit that is, that can be nothing or it can be something severe. You know what I mean? Like if it's dropping somebody low, this can at least get them out of that danger zone, okay? Now, especially if this is paired with an echo, you're now doing double reversions. So you're double dipping on the Golden Hour. So just keep that in mind, all right? Now, the other thing I want to mention is the reason I brought these three things up at the same time is time dilation and the whole idea of stagger, okay? In my opinion, Preservation Evoker pairs the best with Brewmaster Monk. And that is because Brewmaster Monk has stagger. They always have stagger. That's their unique tanking mechanic, okay? And what makes it so special is this Golden Hour effect. If they get hit by a big hit, their stagger kicks in and a portion of that is delayed, right? But what's unique is that Golden Hour doesn't care if that damage is currently staggered or if they just took it. So there is a very unique synergy with Golden Hour and stagger, and by extension then time dilation, where the reversion healing takes into account what is currently staggered. So this is kind of confusing. It might not be making a whole lot of sense. Basically what I'm saying is if a target has high stagger and you hit them with a reversion, Golden Hour taps into the stagger damage that they are actively taking too when they calculate the 15% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds. That means Golden Hour hits like a truck on Brewmaster Monks with high stagger. And we can kind of tap into that with our 1 minute external time dilation here. If we put time dilation on somebody and then we reversion them, especially if we do an echo reversion, it can be a massive instant heal on top of applying the hot. Again, you're not always going to be utilizing that. You're not going to use that every single time. But it is absolutely one of those things where if you keep that in the back of your mind and play around it when you can, especially if you have a Brewmaster Monk or you have somebody that you put time dilation on, it's going to make your life so much easier and you're going to absolutely notice it. Okay. All right. Enough rambling about other talents. Let's just get back into the actual run and see how that is going. All right. So I think we're just waiting. We're waiting on our tank to get back in. Let's skip ahead a little bit. All right. We're pulling a single shaper. I think we're a little scared about doing too big of a pull with one of these guys, which Honestly, we already kind of killed the scary part of that last pull, so didn't really need to do this guy by himself, but I think, like I said, everybody was kind of shaken up a little bit about that one. We went from having a smooth run to all of a sudden being at 15 deaths. We're still making good time. Again, 15 deaths is a lot, but until you're pushing ridiculously high keys, aka the type of keys that somebody like a Dorky or a Growl or any of them what they're doing, your 15 deaths is absolutely recoverable. Okay, especially in 18, we still have this, truthfully. So as long as we play it smart, keep in mind, you know, it's all mental, right? If you start kind of getting in your head too much, or the party starts to play a little off, it's doable, but it can absolutely go sideways. So just try to keep it in, keep with it, stick it out. There's no reason to think that this is not timeable, especially when you realize we're going into the third boss, and then there's not that much trash after this. So, all right, now this boss can be pretty scary. Okay, this is one of those where you want to make sure you have a poisonous spell in the party. It's nice if you have it so you can dispel yourself. And then that green circle around you, you drop a puddle, and it does a lot of damage when you're in that puddle too, and just the initial hit. And on top of that, you're just randomly getting pelted from the sky. All right, and then there's the rancid maw dot again. Ugh, this one's a nightmare. And unfortunately too, this kind of plays into what I was saying previously as far as positionals. Man, you gotta love our pally. I don't know if that actually did anything, but you gotta love be this DPS. All right, your healer will notice it and they will love you. Okay, even if it didn't really do anything, even if this pally, his damage isn't that impressive, but you know what? I love this pally. Danny the Dranny. I know it's supposed to be Drani. I love you, bro. All right. So, anyways, you just gotta kind of keep cycling through your cooldowns here. It's very easy to get behind, especially if you have a bad overlap. Keep in mind those pelters up top are going to start hurting. And if people are low, it's very easy for somebody to just get deleted, okay? You just got to keep that in mind. Now, this is what I wanted to point out. Let's go back in time here. Watch what happens to our priest here. He took a lot of damage, right? But he did come back pretty quickly. Now, what happened there? All right, this is what I was just talking about, though. We hit him. I see that he's getting a little low. I'm getting a little anxious, especially since I see that he's about to drop this ooze under him. So I know he's going to take a lot of damage, okay? So I immediately hit him with time dilation. This is, like I said, this is our external. Use it liberally, use it freely. It's so nice. So that will come in handy. Now, that's not going to fully save him, though. We still got to heal him. What I did there is I put an echo on him and then hit a reversion. So we just did what I was talking about with Golden Hour. He took the big hits, did reversion. It deleted some of that damage that he took within the last 5 seconds. And we double dipped on it with the echo. But on top of that, we have the stagger on him. So this is hitting for a lot. Look how low he gets, and look how rapidly he goes back up with just these combinations of spells. He's 100%. He got hit by Rancid Maw. He's dropping 80%. He does the puddle. I think he gets hit by one of the things from the skies. He dropped to 38% and then instantly spiked back up to 72. That was so nice. Do not sleep on that combo. Now, unfortunately, our looks like our Resto Druid friend did go down. I ended up popping Rewind there. I think I could have played that a little bit better. If I'm already kind of full sending and committing to utilizing Rewind, I should have hit that a little bit sooner, because that probably would have saved the Resto Druid. Luckily, the Paladin was on it. He immediately battle rezzed him, brought him back into it, which is good because the Druid's doing a lot of damage and helping get us through this. The Paladin might not be pumping, but he's a team player, right? Like I said, be that DPS player. Anyways, I'm continuing to throw out my echoes. I'm trying to keep everybody stable. Again, it's scary if anybody gets kind of low because those pelters can finish people off. Just keep doing your combination spells. Play around your cooldowns, and you'll get through it. In my opinion, that's the scariest boss in this dungeon. We got through it. Only had one death. Now we're kind of coasting. We have 9 minutes. We We have some scary trash, but it's not horrific. We should absolutely be able to do that. Just gotta stick the landing here, alright? So we're back to our friends, the avalanches. Oh, the avalanches. Alright. I don't know how I did not pull there. Holy, I even did like a... Man, I even looked back because I was convinced I pulled. Whew. Alright, so this mob will turn into that big guy. Try to help stun, try to help stop as much as you can. Because if he gets on anybody, he's just going to shred them. I'm not sure what happened to our druid friend. I don't think he died to the big guy. I think it may have just been avalanche. Like I said, that avalanche, it is a killer.
3, 2.
Oh no, he is totally on. Oh no, it was I'm sorry, it was the Shadow Priest that died. I'm sorry. Man, I'm colorblind apparently. Yeah, no, the Shadow Priest literally just got deleted by avalanche. Oh, you hate to see it. Yeah, that was 100% just avalanche. I'm too busy focusing on what was happening to the rest of the druid. The rest of the druid's completely fine at 100% health. Meanwhile, poor Shadow Priest is keeping the floor down. Oh yeah. You see here, I have stasis. I'm trying to utilize stasis as much as I can. It is such a powerful cooldown. It helps. It really does help you get through those sketchy instances where you don't have anything ready. In this case, I could have easily Verdant Embrace, Dream Breath instead, but I wanted to get stasis back out there. I didn't really need it any longer. I'd rather use it then than have it awkwardly pop when I don't need it. That's one thing to keep in mind is if you hit the stasis button, you can sit on stasis forever. Okay. It's not until it has the 3 abilities recorded that it's going to record that it then goes on a 30-second countdown, and at the end of those 30 seconds, those 3 spells are cast. So you can sit on 0 spells, 2 spells, whatever recorded, but the moment you hit 3 is when you now have a timer on when you need to utilize stasis. So keep that in mind. It's best to use it even if you don't technically need it at this time. If you're worried you're gonna end up utilizing something else and basically waste it. I'm currently playing a lot of Resto Shami, and it's kind of similar to Cloudburst. It's better where even if I don't need, like I have a Cloudburst totem down and it has a lot of healing stored in it, I might not need to use it to get through something, but if it's gonna go off anyways at a bad time, it's kind of a waste, so might as well. So anyways, these last few packs absolutely truck. You have somebody that's just like shooting out the stone bolts. The Dominators are just doing massive AoE damage the whole time. As you see, I used a stasis to kind of help out with that. Get some stuff recorded, that way I can utilize that if people start getting low again. Again, it's all timeline though. In 10 seconds, it's going to go away irregardless. So what I probably should have done was I probably should have used it instead of what I did at the very end there. Instead, it's going to awkwardly pop. Ugh. Yeah, it popped at the end of my deep breath, so it kind of went off into oblivion. It didn't really do too much, but luckily I didn't really need it. Yeah, those jagged discs, like I said, those will take off at like 20% of your health. But that is one thing that Preservation Evoker absolutely has, is you can absolutely get caught like with your pants down and you have nothing to deal with something. But when you have your your Dream Breath and like Spirit Bloom, you can do a lot of burst healing, especially if you have stasis. Like I said, stasis is so nice. Utilize that, and you can actually be one of the burstier healers. I think the only healer that I can think of that is probably more bursty than a Preservation Evoker would probably be Holy Pally. That'd probably be my guess, my take on that. Just waiting that awkward moment as everybody kind of stares at a healer as they drink, and then I drink in real life. Last boss. Now you'll notice though we are a little short on count. This happens. I feel like this happens all the time. Whether it's a pug key or if I'm running with friends, guildies, whatever. I swear we always end up just a little bit short on this one. This one is kind of a weird one. Luckily there's trash nearby that everybody's able to get. Now, this fight's a little scary, alright? What you need to keep in mind is most of the damage is whenever that big guy is out, okay? That big guy will absolutely, whenever he takes a step, both the big guy and the main boss, whenever they take a step, they're doing AoE damage. Ideally, what we have here is not ideal. As you saw there, we'll go back real quick. The whole objective is to move the ad into the wall that was formed, thus stunning him, okay? That means he is now walking and doing AoE damage every step of the way. The preferred play is to have that wall be close to the boss and where he spawns. That way he's not walking that far, which means you don't have as much AoE damage happening to the party. Unfortunately, in this one that didn't happen, so he's kind of going on a bit of a walk here. And as you can see, the health bars start fluctuating quite a bit. I ended up doing, that was again good stasis play. I had the stasis stored up. I did a temporal anomaly into Spirit Bloom. I did a Verdant Embrace on the Shadow Priest, who was getting a little low, and then I just popped stasis just to play it safe, get us through it. I know the main damage of this fight is only when that ad is out. There is additional damage, but a overwhelming majority of the damage on this boss fight is when that ad is out. Okay, that is one of those things where I always say, try to get an idea and understanding of the boss fights and the damage patterns. As you do more keys as a healer, you'll start to recognize those damage patterns, and you'll start to recognize when the actual damage is coming out. And when you do that, that will let you know when you need and can use certain abilities. There was literally no reason for me to hold stasis there, because as you can see, that our health bars have hardly moved. I've been able to keep them up primarily with hots. Sure, I did Dream Breath at one point, but that was a primarily hot-based Dream Breath. So there's no real reason to not utilize it at that point. Now, unfortunately, we have our guy spawning super far away from the wall again. I'm just going to try to keep hots on everybody. I'm just going to play it safe. We're at the end game here, right? I just instantly hit rewind. No reason to sit on it. That will let us coast through that damage. As you can see, we're at 100%. I also did do an Emerald Communion combo. I did do Emerald Communion, which helped out and get us through it completely. But we hardly even sweat there. And then big guy, he's still up, doing a little bit more AoE damage. Just did an empowered, a stronger Dream Breath, and that got us through it, no problem. Also activated stasis there for an additional hit.
Find shelter.
And yeah, we're just kind of coasting at this point. Don't greed. Druid greeded a little bit there. All right, less than 3 minutes left. We only need to kill 2 mobs. This is gonna be kind of tight. I probably should have just sat and drank and let the pally go, or I should have told the pally to just go. But All right. Oh no, double avalanches. We're fine. We're fine. We're pros at avalanche now, right? All right. All right. Avalanche. Oh, avalanche. Well, the Boomy decided to immediately release. The Shadow Priest decided, screw that, I'm going to sit and wait. And luckily our pally utilized the battle res to get him back up. That time I failed to dodge it. 14% verse. Whew. That still almost killed me. If I died there, that may have been a little bad. Then again, there's not a whole lot of damage on these guys. It's mainly just avalanche. As long as people are avoiding avalanche, we're gonna be okay. We should be okay.
Watch your step.
This time I popped the defensive and I just kind of ate it. I knew it would be fine, no big deal. And just instances like this where you're just like, oh, we only have these 2. We just have 2. We just got to get through it. And you're just watching that timer. You're just staring it down, hoping. We just need to kill this one guy. Oh, our Bally is so low. I think he got frontaled. Okay, we're good. Oh, that gets scary. Oh man. But yeah, we timed it. We actually got through that one, no problem. That one was not that bad. It might be because it was a class that I've played more regularly, more recently. But that one went a lot smoother. Even when I did the Resto Druid, I still feel like that one was, for the most part, pretty smooth. That one was more probably a gearing issue than anything else. But not as much stuff that I really noticed I did overwhelmingly wrong. There was some positional problems. I think there's a couple abilities that I could have utilized a little bit better. I know there were a few times where I was trying to go for a really nice temporal anomaly into a verdant embrace combo. That way I could do like a Emerald Communion, which would have been a big heal. And Preservation Evoker is a very combination based healer. They're very combo heavy. They don't really necessarily have cooldowns, which you do. You have Rewind, which is a huge one. You have Stasis, which is another really strong one, obviously, as we've talked a couple times. But like their main primary heals have decent cooldowns to them, but they're not quite considered like normal cooldowns. But you still got to play around with them as if they are, quote, cooldowns. And by that I mean the 30 seconds on Spirit Bloom and I'm blanking on what it's called. The Dream Breath. Wow. Those two things having 30 seconds can be kind of a rough thing if you don't play around them. All of a sudden you're caught without your two big heals. What do you do? At that point you want to play around with your echoes and reversions. If needed, if you go back and rewatch this again, you'll see that I do cast Living Flame on occasion as a heal. I'm still rocking last season's 4 set, which kind of made it a little bit easier because you would get kind of like, if you've ever played Devastation Evoker, you get kind of a free instant cast Living Flame, which really kind of helps with the spot heal. This season's tier set instead kind of plays around your Spirit Blossom now does a hot, which is awesome, makes that even a stronger cooldown, puts it on par with Dream Breath, and then also it has where you're getting consistent Essence Burst, which lets you throw out more echoes, more disintegration, stuff like that. So you're going to miss out on that instant cast Living Flame. And like I said, if you go back and watch the VOD, you'll probably see me cast that Living Flame a lot more. In my opinion, I think it's a crux that a lot of new Preservation Evokers will utilize, is that they will spam Living Flame as like a primary heal when they have a lot of that downtime. The better play is to kind of get used to stretching out your cooldowns a little bit, right? What I was saying before, where you want to kind of wait it out, where you're not utilizing both of them at the same time. You don't want to use Spirit Blossom, Spirit Bloom, and Dream Breath at the same exact time, because now you don't have anything for 30 seconds. Try to space those out. If you do utilize both of them at the same time, hopefully you captured them in stasis to kind of get you through those 30 seconds where you don't have them. This is a class that will kind of force you and have you really learn when to use your, quote, cooldowns and when to hold them. It's a great class for learning this because unlike, say, something like Resto Shami, where trying to debate whether you throw down SLT or Ascension, Holy Pally, do I pop wings or not, or something like that, and I pop it, now I'm stuck 2 minutes without these big cooldowns, or Ascension, like I'm stuck without that for 3 minutes, and that feels scary. You're going to get your Dream Breath back within 30 seconds, okay? It's not long enough that it's going to be a huge, terrifying issue where you don't have them, but you're going to still encounter issues of, oh, I don't have this, what do I do? But you're only going to be out without them for 30 seconds or so, maybe even less, preferably. So it's a great class. I recommend Preservation Evoker for people that are trying to learn a healer for the first time. I think they're fairly easy to pick up. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of skill expression to them. I think they're one of the more, they're a shining example of a easy to pick up, difficult to master as far as the healers. A really good Preservation Evoker is a delight to watch. And I feel like once you play Evoker, you'll notice and think about those combinations. Playing around Echo, Stasis, and all that stuff, you can do a lot of fun stuff. You can even stasis. You can stasis your Dispel, hit stasis, Dispel 3 people, 3 different party members that don't have anything to Dispel on them. But stasis records that Dispel on those people, and then bursting goes off, you hit your stasis, and it triggers the Dispel on those 3 people, and it's like a pseudo mass Dispel. Like, there's so many weird, crazy things that you can utilize with it. They're also one of the only healers that can get rid of a bleed. There's a lot to them, but they also have not that many buttons compared to some of the other, quote, easy friend, like first time friendly healers. Like I say Holy Priest is probably one of the best healer to start with, but they absolutely have button bloat. Preservation Evoker does not have that problem. And like I said, because they kind of train you into utilizing your cooldowns. You can't just be sitting spamming Living Flame nonstop. You have to use your Dream Breath. You have to use your Spirit Blossom. But then you notice that you don't have one of those things on the next big hit. Now you learn, you recognize those damage patterns. Oh, I should probably make sure I have Dream Breath for this, or I should make sure I have one of these others. You know, you're gonna be so much better about that, and you're gonna improve as a player, guaranteed. Like I said, one of the most fun. Also, I have said Spirit Blossom like 10 times. It is Spirit Bloom. I am so sorry. I keep getting that mixed up. I don't know why. I know because I want to say, I'm thinking Emerald Blossom. Spirit Bloom, not Emerald Blossom. You never hit Emerald Blossom in M+. Anyways, I really hope my rambling, maybe there's something that was useful to you. These videos, like I said, they're not really meant for a guide to the class. It's kind of a mix between being like a pseudo guide, having just a video for people to see, like, how am I playing the class? What am I doing? Which is always good for first timers when they're kind of learning to see somebody how they play it. And additionally too, I hope some of my ramblings explaining some of the combinations, some of the spells, I hope all that was kind of useful. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you give Resto, geez, okay, I think it might be time to end this. I hope you give Preservation Evoker a shot, and I hope you really enjoy it. Hope you all have a great time, and I do so much appreciate you guys watching this. Peace.